Welcome to our classroom. Welcome to the classroom. Welcome to the classroom. The segments where I bring the classroom out into the field. Beautiful fall day here, and I'm at the German Mills Creek in Richmond Hill, Ontario. It feeds into the Don River system, and it is a very good example of a meandering river. In the background here, we have a few small meanders, about 20, 30 meters back. So this is a single channel, and it's a fairly low velocity river, but in certain places there are boulders that are placed in the river and creating that river sound that you can hear in the audio, I'm sure. It is in an urban environment, and so it has been engineered to minimize the amount of erosion. There are a liner placed in the creek bed and then rocks placed on top of the liner as an effort to reduce soil behind that liner being eroded by the creek or the river and carried away. Now, in some places, you'll be able to see that it's actually not working, and the banks are actually subsiding or collapsing in some of the corners. And I'll take you to another location where we can see that in action. So the current is really flowing, and on each corner, remember, our meandering river on the outside is eroding away, and on the inside is depositing sediment. There is evidence of erosion on the outside banks of the corners, and not a lot of evidence of deposition on the inside banks. Although, when there is a large rainstorm or a steady rain throughout the day, the level in this creek rises quite a lot. In fact, maybe 1 foot or more, depending on the duration and the magnitude of the rain event. And so that can, in fact, raise the surface outside of the current channel that you can see here. So the channel, is as wide as this bridge. But if it rises up quite a lot, a foot or more, it will overtop these banks for a short period of time. And when the river rises and the channel widens because it rises, then we deposit material out on the banks and we create a natural levee. So that doesn't happen in this environment on a regular basis along the entire channel, but in certain locations where we have a low-lying area, then there will be that water for a short period of time flowing over top of the land surface. And if you come here after a rain event, you can see where the water has flown across the land surface around and outside the banks of the river. And you can see behind me some quite tall trees. We've got actually a larger river valley here. So at one point in time, this river may have been flowing with a much higher volume. And historically, the meandering would have eroded back to these higher banks of the valley. The land around here, we're starting to get into the Oak Ridges Moraine area, which is north of Toronto, and that we have glacial sediments deposited here, and this river has been cutting into this sediment over a long period of time since the last glaciation. And so that has created these river valleys that you see throughout the whole of the Greater Toronto area, the Rouge River, the Don River, etc. And these river valleys, the entire valley is really a potential for flooding, and people are constructing right up to the edges, and there's still potential for erosion to happen. So let's go to another location, and I'll show you a little bit of erosion that's happening on the outside bank of one of the meanders. You can see right here, we've got a little bit of protection that they tried to install. It's a liner, and that they actually have placed there and then placed some boulders over top, and now it's exposed, and you can see a little bit of sticks and things poking into it and whatnot. So over time, these engineering efforts, we try to control the river, they're going to break down because the nature really is going to take over. Also, the barrier, it goes up. You can see how high it goes up, and that's actually probably about where the flood level rises to after a big rainstorm. I'm standing at the bank probably about a foot above the current river system level, and I would be underwater. I've seen the water up at this level where I am standing right now. Also, what we can see in the background here is a slope that is being eroded because the river comes down and makes a turn, and it's actually cutting into the slope, removing the soil, and it's slowly eroding down. You can see the bank. There's none of this barrier material left there. It either wasn't placed there or it's been removed, and that bank is slowly eroding. You can see the grass and the edge of the slope exposed there, a little bit of a cliff starting in the shadows, and then a gentle slope down, but it's being eroded out. They've actually got some fencing at the back here to protect people from actually walking over the edge, and there's a house right there. It's at the backyard of a house, so they're actually losing land slowly. It's a process that happens slowly, but in a torrential rain storm event, not at this location, it doesn't look that unstable to me, but in other locations, the torrential rain storm may cause enough erosion that actually we destabilize the whole slope and you have a landslide occur. So that's the engineering link. We need to protect the people that are building their homes around these river valleys in this urban environment. We need to protect against erosion, and we need to warn the public and put zoning in place to prevent people from building right to the banks of these rivers. This is the river valley, and this slope where we have here, that's the edge of the river valley, and I'm standing in the floodplain. So this, the whole width of the higher valley, that's the floodplain risk. All right.